Recording
a
in
lot
progress.
of times when they are seeing this thing, the thing will notice that they're being watched, and it'll get like this shocked look on its face, like it can't believe that it's being seen. And a lot of times with these cases of the others, you'll hear the same kind of accounts. They act shocked that they can be seen. So, what's up with that?
Hey guys, I'm back.
All right. Mel still there now?
Hello.
Yeah, sorry, I muted myself. Glad to have Paul back. We're going to be ready to take a break, and we'll have one more hour back. But let me just say this. What you said about everything that our pets can see. I think we're the living being on this world that we call ourselves on top of the food chain. But in reality, we're not. We look at the brain of a dolphin. It's much bigger than a human. And we just think that just because they're underwater doing this or that they're not smarter than us. But when it comes to what we see and what we can't see, the spectrum is so minuscule. And all you have to do is just put some of those green infrared goggles. And I say green because I have another story to tell. Let me just say it before the break because it's interesting. I think it was Cliff High who told me this. His father was a helicopter gunner during the Vietnam War. And during that time, the gunners were given these infrared goggles that had red light, not green, red. And what they were seeing above, not on the bottom, they were seeing these beings flying around them. And they were so scared, they reported that to their commanders. And the commanders freaked out and then removed the green spectrum. And that's when the red spectrum, they were given the green one where they were not able to see these other beings. So imagine how many levels and technology we have available, not to us, but to some people, to see what's in front of us all the time. But we have to take a one and only break. How can people buy mimics, the others around us, and learn more about your work, Tim and Paul?
All right, well, you can find mimics on Amazon.com, both as a print and ebook. And my website is conspiracyjournal.com. Paul?
Yes, and my website is cryptic916.com. CRYPTIC 916, and I'm very sorry the power went out in my whole neighborhood. So, or I could just tell you I was abducted by the others or the mimics.
I thought you were going to say Paul 411 because that phone call probably is because people are looking for you in Sacramento. As I said, I used to live in Sacramento years ago. Yeah. But one more hour to go with Tim Swartz and Paul Dale Roberts. This is Mel Hostelrick, and you are listening to Veritas. Don't go anywhere. Folks, do you need a minute to use the restroom, grab something to drink, or are you okay?
Nope, I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
We're planning to call you, but I suspect that something happened.
Yeah.
By the way, I used to live in Fair Oaks in the mid-'90s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I've done some cases up there.
Do you know Anthony Sanchez?
No.
He was a researcher. He wrote UFO Highway, excellent book. He interviewed a colonel from the Air Force. He did a conference in 2012, I think it was. I was the moderator, and great people there. Great people attended.
Well,
but anyway, let's get.
I used to go to Fair Oaks to a pre-Halloween party that was given by a Disney animator, and I can't think of his name right now. But I used to go over there, and he even had underneath his house a little train that would go underneath his house.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Cool. Well, there's things happening with Disney people lately. Let's go back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Veritas. I'm Mel Hostelrick, and my special guests are Tim Swartz and Paul Dale Robert. Fascinating topic. What is the story of the strange? Let's dig into some of the stories in your book. What is the story of the strange girl dressed like a ballerina that Winchester counselor Adrian Hicks encountered in 2004?
Oh yeah, sure. That's a fascinating story, and it just really helps illuminate these kinds of unusual encounters. Because we've got quite a few where these things actually come and knock on your door, and they come in and want to have coffee with you and stuff. But this was one where this guy was actually a local politician, and was out for a walk one very nice, cool spring day. It was on a Saturday, and he noticed in the crowd, walking kind of with them, this very unusually dressed and slightly odd-looking woman. He said that she was wearing almost like a glittering ballerina type of outfit. And he said that she walked like a penguin, which I imagine he meant that she kind of like was shuffling side to side, which that's a significant aspect, and I'll bring that up again later, Mel. He said that she had very large, dark eyes, and he actually provided a drawing of this girl that we have in the book. They almost look like large sunglasses, but the way that he puts it, they were actually her eyes, and that she was twirling her hands in a circular motion in front of her as she walked. And he said that she seemed to be very relaxed and almost acting like a tourist, just taking in everything as she walked. And he said that she was so unusual looking that other people in the crowd were noticing her as well. And he says he forever regrets not going up to her and saying something like, excuse me, you're not from around here, are you? But no, he decided that he would let that be and just let her go on, with her sightseeing. But he said that she was just so unusual looking and acting that he had to make note of it. And this story was reported in a number of papers after it happened, and he had hoped that maybe somebody else who was in that crowd and had seen her would write in about it. But I've never come across any further follow-ups to this. Now, one significant point with this story, Mel, is that he said that he wanted to go up and talk to her, but decided not to. And we hear this a lot with these kinds of cases, even with cases of UFO sightings, where people will say that this UFO was so close I could have chucked a rock at it, but it just did not occur to me to pick up my camera and take a picture of it, even though it was right there sitting in my lap. The same thing with encounters with the others. People will, unlike the black-eyed kids, will often just throw open their door and invite them inside, and then later say, I have no idea why I did that. Or will have the opportunity to talk like Mr. Hicks to these things, but then later say, it just never occurred to me to try to talk to him. There seems to be some kind of mind play going on with these things that will prevent a lot of these witnesses from doing something that you think would be logical. Either not letting strangers into your house, to talking to somebody that you really would like to talk to, but somehow you're prevented from doing so, to just all kinds of unusual mind games with encounters with the others. You want to add something to that, Paul?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everything Tim was saying, it seems like that's the path of these mimics, these others. And one strange case, in fact, it's actually in Tim's book, a story that my brother told me, Joe Soyo, when he was vacationing in St. Lucia which is a Caribbean island. The people, a lot of people talk about the legendary Tibolum. And it's like they say it's a little devil type creature. And one person heard this baby crying in distress and went over there and actually encountered this little devil, and it jumped on his chest and tried to suck out his soul. And these people actually really, really, truly believe this. And so with so many people, like my brother Joe was saying, there was so many people that had these stories, and they said that this one girl that he was talking to, she said that her grandfather actually encountered a Tibolum and caused her grandfather to have a heart attack, a massive heart attack. And when they were talking to him right before he died, he said that he had seen a little devil, and that's why he has a pain in his chest. And then he died right in front of them. Yeah.
Well, when you look at the Caribbean, St. Lucia you mentioned, I mean, pretty much I grew up in an island in the Caribbean. You know, you have Cuba, Puerto Rico, Jamaica, whether it's Haiti, the French, the Brits, the Spaniards, the Spanish. One common denominator is that a lot of the people, especially the slaves that came in, they had something in common. They brought their own religious beliefs that they had to hide in order for, you know, Christianity not to burden them. So they brought a lot of the, let's call them urban legends, but a lot of them really believe in certain entities that came from the old continent, and even to this day they discuss them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And another topic that mimics Tim's book talks about is tulpas. Tulpas, the author of The Shadow, and I can't think of his name right now, but he used to think of his character, the Shadow, so much that when his family and friends would actually go to his home, they would see this character with a fedora hat, a red scarf around his mouth, and his long protruding nose. And they were saying, hey, we see this character, and he has a cape on and everything else. And the author of The Shadow says, hey, that's my creation, the Shadow. He thought of it so much, he projected it, and it manifested. And that's very similar to like the Slender Man. This internet sensations that was created on the internet, now people are actually witnessing the Slender Man, seeing it in the woods, seeing it in their home, and everything else. So, and one young girl, she lost her life because these two girls actually believed in the Slender Man so much, they thought they were going to go to his mansion if they would sacrifice his little girl for Slender Man. Yeah, it's amazing how these tulpas are created. And I've had cases where there was tulpas, where people thought of something so much, they actually created it from their mind.
Manifested it.
Yeah.
So basically that's saying you manifest the thoughts you entertain. Well, let me just ask you this, because I think if we had to boil this down to the least common denominator, mimicry in nature, right? Let's look at the animals. You have the octopus, you have the chameleon, or the visceral butterfly that mimics the appearance of the toxic monarch butterfly in order to avoid predation. So for survival, I would say for competitive advantage, for pollination, you see mimicry in the plant world, predation, or protection from predators. So if we had all these beings come here, or if we had to go to another planet, wouldn't we be mimicking the local population in order to do what we need to do?
Oh yes, exactly. And I mean, we don't even with these cases of the others, I don't think we have to go to another planet, because why do we think that we are the top of the food chain? I think that more than likely there could be things that prey on humans, among other things. But these things, and you gave some great examples, like the octopus, insects. There could be some kind of species, either physical or interdimensional, or both. We just don't really know, that is able to mimic us to the point that they can live among us, and then when the time is right, feed or avoid being fed upon. Because mimicry works both ways. Either a predator can mimic something to eat, or prey can mimic something to avoid being eaten.
Survival, right?
Right. So we've gotten to the point where we think we're so superior, and that we can eat everything else on the planet, and there's nothing left to eat us. Well, Mother Nature pours a vacuum, so it's going to come up with a way to keep us cold, so to speak. There's going to be something that's going to develop to fill that ecological niche. That ecological niche being something that eats humans. I know that sounds crazy, but think about it. I think that it is a good possibility that at least some of these cases of mimics are things that have the ability to look like us, so we can be dinner.
And also too, mimics
at all.
And also too, it mimics the others. Not only do they mimic mankind, people, they can also too mimic insects. So let's say like insectoid, alien. It looks like a praying mantis.
Praying mantis, right?
Yeah. And then your werewolf looks like a humanoid wolf. Dogman has the appearance of a dog. It has the face of a dog, but the body of a human. So it seems like they can mimic a lot of different things. Reptilians. They could look like lizards and stuff like that. So, it's really amazing all the different type of mimics that there are out there.
What about the stories of people who live adjacent to military facilities who say, I saw what looked to be, as you said, a werewolf or some kind of chimera walking around the neighborhood at night, and we live 10 miles away from some military facility? Do you think, and again, we're speculating here, do you think there's currently experimentation taking place where they're actually mixing humans with animals? And I'll say yes, because I know the legislation is there, and a couple of years ago some senator tried to stop it and he lost, and they continue with the legislation allowing experimentation of human-animal chimeras.
Well,
do you want to go with that first?
I was in the military. I was in the Army for 12 years. So from 73 to 76 and from 79 to 86. And
thanks for your service.
Oh, thank you. And let me tell you, there's a lot of mysterious things going on with military. When I was stationed in Korea, Seoul, Korea, I was at Yongsan Barracks, and I worked with a Photo Interpretation Center in Korea, PICK. And I was taken into a underground facility. It was called Operation Tango. And they took us in a bus, and they blacked out all the windows, and they took us deep inside this mountain. And what it was a listening post for North Korea and Red China. And they have so many different secrets, and I've told this story a few times, but I was a intelligence analyst, 97 Bravo, and on one particular day, 6 photographs came in. And I worked with image interpreters. They would look at reconnaissance aircraft, reconnaissance satellite photos, and they could tell you a little dot was a T-72 tank. But 6 photographs came in of different pictures of UFOs. One was disc shaped, one was triangular shaped, one was cube shaped, on and on. 6 photos. And on the back of the photos, it said intelligent movement. And they were part of a bigger picture. Each photo represented a video taken by either our reconnaissance aircraft or our reconnaissance satellites. And my job was just to give it a number and pass it on to the DIA, which is the Defense Intelligence Agency, and then it passes on to the CIA. So if you're asking me, I've been to a lot of military installations. In fact, I actually worked at as a state worker, I worked for Department of Health Services, and my top manager was working. He got a promotion, and he left Department of Health Services, and he became a scientist manager at Plum Island. And Plum Island has all kinds of stories of strange things that are happening over there, experimenting on animals, changing their DNA and everything else, creating monsters at Plum Island. And here I used to work with this guy, and he's now one of the head chiefs over at Plum Island. So yeah, if you're asking me if military installations have a lot of secretive stuff, oh yeah. And there's a lot of the military bases, like I went to Fort Huachuca, Arizona, and that's where I went to military intelligence school.
Oh,
They said
close to me.
oh yeah.
Yes.
And they said there's a lot of strange little caverns under Fort Huachuca.
On the side of a mountain. It's not even an hour away from me. I go there and I sense something's really taking place there, but I didn't see that coming. Paul, I appreciate that input that you just gave us, because I'm always fascinated about what could possibly be happening. As we know, we've heard that the Chinese, the CCP is working on super soldiers or enhancing. I mean, even Hitler did it by using cocaine, by using many drugs in order to keep their soldiers up. Imagine what they have today, and the Chinese army might be prepared with that. What about the United States? What's underground? I mean, we recently had Dr. Richard Sauter back again after a hiatus of almost 13 years. He has a book on underground bases, and he discusses this, what's happening underground. Could we be creating a new race, literally, a new race of humanoids in order to match what the Chinese are doing? Because obviously we can't compete with the numbers. We can compete with the technology, but not with the numbers of foot soldiers.
Well, we do know that even Stalin had issued orders for his scientists to try to create super soldiers by breeding either gorillas or chimpanzees. They were really knowledgeable at the time that chimpanzees are more closely related to humans than gorillas, so the initial idea was, let's try to do this using gorillas. And of course, I mean, this would have been, back in the 1930s. So considering the leaps and bounds that we've come now in genetic and DNA research, it's not unlikely that something similar to create a super soldier, some kind of chimera type of creature using a closely related species to ours. It's at least with the research being done, I think that it's likely. One of our writers, Lon Strickler, his only encounter with a Bigfoot took place while he was fishing on a river in Maine, and he saw this creature, and it saw him, and he was amazed after he called the police about his sighting, how quickly the response was, like within minutes. And there was a military presence as well in the area that he saw this creature. Later, somebody told him that this was something that had escaped from a nearby military laboratory that they called the Monkey House. And that there was a suggestion that there had been a number of these things contained within for whatever kind of research, that was never specified, but that they had managed to get out. So if you think of at least some Bigfoot-type cryptid creatures, could actually be physical creatures, they're probably, because of the way they look, are probably closely related to humans. 7 foot tall plus, huge shoulders, obviously extremely strong. If they're that close to us as a species, I imagine that the military, if they're able to get a hold of one or two or more, would be attempting to breed some kind of super soldier. I don't think that's too far out of a concept.
Not at all. And if anybody, what we're discussing here is science fiction, all you need to do is go to congress.gov and search for S.1800. It's legislation called the Human Animal Chimera Prohibition Act of 2021. And essentially what it does, it makes it unlawful to create or attempt to create a prohibited human animal chimera, transfer or attempt to transfer a human embryo into a non-human womb, transfer or attempt to transfer a non-human embryo into a human womb, or transport or receive for any purpose or a prohibited human animal chimera. That bill was killed, which means that this has been happening under our noses with taxpayer dollars for decades.
Exactly. Why would they try to pass that law unless somebody knew that this was already taking place?
Exactly. What about the angle of Dr. David Jacobs?